government. Now, tonight, to discuss further on the topic, we have Professor Madeline Burma and Suhaimi Saha from UITM. Welcome to the studio. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Now, before we dive deeper into the discussion, we have a short clip for you. Take a look.
There will be no Malay tsunami against the government.
Dia kata ada tsunami Melayu, saya kata tak ada tsunami Melayu.
We need more in this coming election is actually the Malay tsunami.
Screw 他们自己的马来人 Screw 他们自己的马来人 Screw 他们自己的马来人
Perkataan tsunami Melayu ini telah dicipta oleh DAP.
Tidak ada tsunami yang menolong kita, yang semua tsunami ialah menghancurkan.
Melayu mudah lupa.
Dengan izin Tuhan, Dr. Sri, we will prevail.
Inshallah, we will prevail. We must prevail.
Now, tonight on Viewpoint, our issue, the topic that we'll be discussing is Malay tsunami. So, Dr. Madlina and Suhaimi, my first question to you is, do you see the Malay tsunami happening? I mean, the opposition claims that there will be a strong swing towards in the Malay votes this general election, despite BN saying otherwise. What's your comments?
You go first.
Suhaimi, maybe?
Okay. I think about the definition of Malay tsunami can be defined in various ways, which is it's important for us in this coming war, where the political terminology used by the political parties, the contesting generations, is used to influence the voters indirectly or directly, emotionally or rationally. Either, let's say, for example, we take PRU13, G13, where the Chinese tsunami is used to define the votes from the Chinese. But again, the Malay tsunami is created by the political parties to influence the voters emotionally, to make change, for example. And also, we have to understand that there are a few indicators why this Malay tsunami happened. First is because of social media. The second is how the political parties campaign. They change their campaigning strategy. For example, the selection of issues, for example. So then they go for the Malay. They choose, for me, is more on issue orientations, where they choose issue on economic factors, cost of living, GST. So the way how they influence the Malay voters to ensure that the Malay voters, in terms of the political efficacy, will increase. So they feel that they have the responsibility to participate in the coming elections. This is the way how we see how Malay tsunami will happen.
Okay, so Doc, what do you think?
Okay, thank you very much. I like the way that he puts it. You know, it's kind of a bit theoretical. I look at it from a very what do you call it, as an ordinary person. Now, how do I define a tsunami? When I look at a tsunami, I remember what is happening in Aceh. You know, something that is really big waves, and then it's very destructive and things like that. To me, the way I look at it, we were just discussing just now, even the flags in my kawasan in Bandar Baru Bangi, you know, it's so boring, you know, that kind of thing. I think much happening. The way I look at it is that, yes, the votes are there, but I don't see the kind of wave that the way people,
that's being perceived as a tsunami.
The way it's being perceived, but maybe it's good, like you say. Politically, it's good, you know, to kind of frighten your opponent and say, you know, the Malays are no longer supporting you, you know, the tsunami means you are out, so I will be there. So you know, psychologically, it helps. But when you really look at it, to me, it's just a normal thing. In fact, somebody on my Facebook even suggested probably this is just they call it the youth tsunami of the youth. But to me, youth also come in because of the age factor, that when they are allowed to vote. So
both of you don't really think there's a Malay tsunami that's happening. So it's more of another terminology, maybe like the youth tsunami, or the urban tsunami, or the rural tsunami that we're seeing online. What are your thoughts on, say, in the rural and urban areas? How is that coming along in the Malay votes?
I think Malay votes in certain rural areas still remains, where they have decided to choose Barisan Nasional as the main party for them. Why? Because we have to understand that the rural needs the transformation program from the government itself. They get all the benefit from the government, for example, in terms of economic factors, whatever. So in this case, for example, certain rural areas, they need the government to sustain their economic factors or the cost of living of need. But again, in the urban areas, some target groups were affected. For example, they want to buy a house, but the house prices is very high today. So they need an alternative. The government provided the new scheme for example, in Selangor, when Barisan Nasional introduced, they need to develop a rumah transit for belia. So once you have the money, then you can buy a new house. But again, before you buy a new house, you have a program what we call as a rumah transit belia. This is what we are trying to tell to the young voters. You go for manifesto oriented. If you go for issue orientations, you will become very angry. Why? Because being angry, it's a very simple analogy. Whenever the government touch the perut, the stomach, so people will get angry.
Not
this
literally, per se.
This is what happened in 2008 when suddenly you have a meal in terms of 2 chickens. Now you can only take 1 chicken only. So suddenly people get angry. So, but even though the government do many things for the people, but again, because of the issue orientations, the way how the new Malay voters learn politics through issues, this is what we are concerned now.
Okay, so then how would you say or perceive that, how are these parties, Barisan Nasional, say PAS for instance, and PKR, how are they targeting these Malay voters? Maybe, Doc?
Okay, before I answer that question, my training, I'm an economist by training. So what we normally do is that we slice our population. When I say slice, then we cut them up. Right. If you look, let's just use the B40, the typical, the way the government look at.
Yep.
We have the T20, the top 20%,
yes.
and then we have the M40, the middle 40%, and then we have the B40, the normal, what we call the lower income. But for Sabah and Sarawak, we do have another one. You know, they are the really the bottom, at the bottom there. I mean, like friends. I mean, I used to say our indigenous community, young, you don't even know the Penans. I don't know how far we can go now. If you slice that down for the 4 categories, they vote, to me, they will not vote the way that you cannot homogenize them. The T20 are people, they are the community, not community, they are the ones who have income more than 16,000 on average, median income. I mean, Malaysian politics for them is just another ball game. But they are very small of them. But what we are concerned about is the M40, which are people like you and me, the middle class.
Okay.
We are a bit concerned, or rather very concerned about the price of food on our table.
The cost of living.
Okay, the cost of living is going to be issue. Unemployment is going to be issues. Bangladesh coming in, or the foreigners.
The foreigners
These are, like he said, I mean, I agree with him, very issue oriented. Now the B40, oh my goodness, that is another level. Now the B40, it is really cost of living. So the issue of GST, you just use the word GST, or you just mention cost sara hidup, you see how they will jump. So meaning to say, but another layer is that they also want development, as he mentioned. So to what extent the government or the political parties can target this differently, so that is very important. Now, if you look at, you are asking me with the PAS and specifically the Malays, PAS to me has always been about religion.
Correct.
Okay, so and I don't think they have really shifted much. But today, as I went to Kuala Selangor, suddenly I saw a different image of PAS. They were in tie, in coats and tie, and I said, "Oops, this is a different kind of PAS." Shifting a bit away in terms of image. You're talking about image now. Barisan to me, they will still use specifically. You see, grassroots wise, both political parties are very strong. Okay, if you look at PAS, they all have always relied on the grassroots. UMNO, jangan cerita lah. You know, the wanita UMNO alone is like, God, I don't know, they're the makcik and everything. They are there. But I don't see that much in terms of, let's assume, PKR. Because PKR is not targeting that. I don't think so. Because they're targeting the middle class. Because the middle class are the ones who have they are very IT savvy.
Yes.
So the kind of approach they use will also differ. Because you cannot use SMS or WhatsApp dengan makcik. You know, the one, or even my people in a long house there. But for the middle class Iban like me, I go for issues. I want to see what is the manifesto like. So what have they achieved in the past? For example, if I'm a Malay voter, I want to know which party have proven themselves to have done a lot from the past.
Promise,
okay, now what are they doing now, and what can they promise me in the future? So it's past, present, future.
But now that we see, if I may, the middle class is more leaning towards the opposition. What are your comments on that?
Okay, the way how you want to influence the voting decisions or voting decision of the Malay class, middle class
Malays,
target groups. First, you must understand that as a political parties, they want to influence the group by selling the issues of GST, even though more than 90% of manifestos in 2013 have been fulfilled by the government.
Yes, about more than 90%. Yeah.
But they don't want to listen or they want to buy that information. They prefer to choose the information that can influence their emotions. So why? Because they don't have a platform to express their thought or opinions.
Okay.
So the best medium that they want to share or express their opinion is through social media.
Okay.
The problem now with our society, we are easily to blame others. Why? Why this thing happen? Because negative campaigning. So if you play negative information of messages every day 24/7, people are easily to be influenced. This is psychologically, Professor, if you agree. So we did a psychometric test on voters. The voters, for example, we did a study on Perak and Lembah Pantai and Titiwangsa. Some voters, they tend to choose the candidate that have a sharp tongue. So if you have a candidate, you want to become a candidate, you must have a sharp tongue. Meaning that you must be very brave. You must be a champion of issues. So in order for you to sell yourself, you must have a very sharp tongue. And also part of that, you must have become a very extrovert leaders. Okay.
So the problem, we can say this is the strategies of splitting the Malay vote. So on that thought, we have to go for a short break. We'll be right back after this for more issues. Don't go away. Welcome back to Viewpoint, where tonight we're discussing about the Malay tsunami. Now, to pick up on where Suhaimi, you mentioned earlier about the strategy of splitting the Malay votes. You were talking a bit about the personality of the candidates themselves. Maybe you can continue.
Okay, one thing about you have to remember that in order for you to win the heart of mind of the voters, you create anxiety.
Anxiety.
In order for you to create anxiety, it's easy for them to influence the voters. And also, when you create anxiety, you use fear appeals. Fear factors. So in order for you to scare the voters, you will make certain informations. You crafted the information. You do the political messages. For example, Malaysia akan bankrupt. For example, China akan menawan Malaysia. So this all kind of information can create anxiety to the voters. Suddenly, when you create anxiety to the voters, it may create the political disaffections toward the governments. What happened now, people keep blaming the government. Even though we give you BRIM, we give you better education, better healthcare, whatever. But again, maybe because you are managing these affections very poor, so the people thinks that they need to change. So from the keyword change, they translate it to hope, new hope. So what the political campaign strategists think, in order for you to change the government, you have to buy the keyword. You have to champion the keyword. The keyword now is harapan. Compare with Barisan Nasional, they use the word hebat. So hebat versus harapan, which one is more appealing to the people? But again, when you use macro targeting, which what Tun buat sekarang ni, so you manage to pull the crowd, 3,000, 4,000, and also by using political marketing approaches, you buy sponsor Facebook, for example. So in order for you to reach the target audience, so you can get 30,000 viewers. This is but you have to spend. But Barisan Nasional now, from my observation in Selangor, they go for micro targeting. They go for small ceramah, small engagement with the people. So
closer engagement,
social engagement with the people, less attacking.
I see.
They're trying to answer the issues, and also they try to push to market their manifestos. This is different. Why? Because in order for you to manage the split votes, you must get the opportunity, the benefit of split votes. Okay, for example, in urban areas, 3-5 corners. For example, 3-5 corners, we assume that Barisan Nasional will win, not in a very big number of votes, but slightly for them, menang dah cukup.
But then you mentioned about Tun's strategy. I mean, some are saying that's actually garnering the sympathy votes. Do you think that would actually translate into numbers?
Okay, it may translate into numbers in terms of popular votes. When Barisan Nasional will lost certain votes in PR13 because now Tun has become very popular in Malaysia now. So the young prefer to go to Tun. Why? Because emotionally and psychologically they still can accept Tun as a leaders. But the problem now, as I mentioned earlier, when it comes to elections, you want to select either parliament or Dewan Undangan Negeri. If you want to change the government, you change the parliament, right? But now, does this thing happen? When suddenly the voters, for example, the first voters decided that, no, I don't want to take the risk because there are so many factors. If I make a wrong decisions, there are so many factors. But for the voters that decide the voters, they will choose. For now, Barisan Nasional has 1 day only to ensure that the popular vote will increase, but they can increase the number of parliamentary seats. Okay,
Dr. Med, you mentioned earlier about Sabah and Sarawak.
Right.
How can what your comments on Sabah and Sarawak? What are the factors for the Bumiputras in voting?
Okay, thank you very much. Now, before I answer that question, I would like to probably just to pick up on what he has. Suhaimi has mentioned just now is that about the tsunami and about the issue of change. For me, rather than looking at it as a Malay tsunami, I would prefer to look at it as a Malay dilemma. Now Tun Mahathir himself is creating another dilemma. You know why I'm saying this? As I was writing, I meet a lot of people. Well, not a lot in the course of my research before this election. So when I talk to them, they are having this split. They were thinking, there are certain things that I like. There is some. The government has done a lot. Like you mentioned, education, you name it. You cannot deny that, right? Poverty has been reduced. We are being, they have achieved what they have achieved. Now, cuma they don't like certain things. They don't like certain individuals. They don't like. So now they are not sure because the way our government works and the way the political process works is that you have to. It's a package. A political party plus
The candidate,
the candidates and whoever is. Sebenarnya they don't mind what the government is, but I really don't like this person.
The person
I don't like somebody like the
specifically,
name
yes.
of I kan YB sekarang. Yang bersara. This kind of YB. So that is to me is not just a Malay. It's not so much of a Malay tsunami, but to me is a Malay dilemma, because I talked to a few of them and they were saying, pening kepala lah Dr. Mac. I said, what is your pening kepala? I want ibat tak ada pening kepala. So now back to the story of the
Sabah Sarawak, Bumi Putras, yes.
One of the biggest dangers of the way I look at it if you look from a peninsular perspective, is to equate Sabah and Sarawak together like as if it is the issue is the same here. Now in Sabah and Sarawak, the two main things that we must not forget is, number one, everybody knows is about basic infrastructure. Okay, basic
development,
infrastructure.
yes.
Now another thing which Semenanjung sometimes forget, or they purposely forget, is the issue of religion. Okay, this issue, if you know how to play that well, the issue of, the concept of, when you use when they said you cannot use the word Allah last time. Anybody who brings that issue, I can tell you, you're really crucifying yourself and put yourself on the cross. You cannot imagine bringing this issue, for example, a political party, go to Sarawak and say, we cannot compromise on that. See, one is of course the issue of basic infra. So, and then a lot of people keep on saying that, Sabah and Sarawak, especially, they kata they are the safe deposit, for they put us to a point like us, they put Sabah and Sarawak to a point like, actually they're nothing. We only need them.
We don't,
actually, after this, no need lah. But this time around, it is totally different. Sarawak especially, especially, has its own bargaining power now. Okay. So it is no longer the kind of the way that the way it's been perceived. And I'm glad that that Malaysia should not perceive the states like that. It's just like Kelantan. Everybody assume that Kelantan must stay gone case lah. And everybody keep on saying, oh, Kelantanis, they don't like development. I don't think that is how it should be looked out. I know. So meaning to say, change is definitely the way we look at it, because the new generations that are coming in have a different view about things. Like if you go to Sarawak now, so issue, yes, we have this what we call politik atap zing, which means that every time the minister comes or YB comes,
to the Rumah Panjang,
they go to Rumah Panjang, you tukar only 5 atap zing. And our Dayak people, our indigenous, very happy because they're very appreciative, whatever. But now, they have their children who many of them have studied, have even like a Penan. There are few Penans already who are in the university. I don't think they can entertain it anymore. And we cannot play that kind of game anymore. With my grandmother, it's okay. With my mother, okay, they're uneducated. But with Madeline inside there, I don't think we can, because there are so many people who have been to universities.
Yes.
And you must understand, in Sarawak, about more than 30,000 Sarawakians are in Johor. They are, and they will come back. They will go to the longhouses.
Back and vote.
I remember in the last GE14 and the last GE13, they printed manifesto. They printed lots of things, and they do ceramah. Berandau. We ban call. So meaning to say, the Sarawak that you see, or the Sabah that you see in the future, is no longer the safe deposit that the way that we like to see it now.
No, that's an interesting topic. I want to also come back after break to mention about the Malay dilemma that you mentioned. We're going for a short break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Viewpoint, where we're talking about the Malay tsunami here on this episode. Now, Dr. Madeline,
Yes.
coming back to your comment earlier about the Malay dilemma, I'd like you to elaborate further on that, because now we've seen in GE14 the existence of many Malay splinter groups.
Yes.
We've got PPBM, we've got Amanah, we've got Warisan, apart from the already existing UMNO, PAS and PKR. Now, if you look at it, these splinter parties are formed by leaders who are more interested, I would say, in pushing their own political agenda forward. Now, what are your comments on that?
Okay, coming back to the Malay dilemma, is irony. You know, the irony of it all, Tun Mahathir was the one who came up with the Malay dilemma, and suddenly towards the GE14, so this Malay dilemma is suddenly there. I mean, I really have to admit that to me it is really more of a Malay dilemma rather than a tsunami. If you look at just the number of splinter groups,
about 5.
Now, if you ask me personally about, if you look at the Chinese are very, very clear who they want to vote.
Okay.
You ask an Iban, the Iban are even more confused. You know, no, I mean, this is a problem. I mean, maybe it comes with political maturity. The Chinese are very, very, very clear, so they know who they want, to the point that they are taksub juga. You know, and so back to this issue. If you ask, I mean, in the course of riding a taxi on whatever it is, I discuss with my student. They will say, oh, no, I'm really confused this time. So I think to a large extent, Tun, as much as he has written this book called The Malay Dilemma, he is also partly responsible for creating the Malay Dilemma number 2.
So, any comments?
I agree with Prof. This is not about Malay dilemma, it's about Chinese dilemma, it's about Indian dilemma. When Tun appear in our
This
political
GE landscape,
so suddenly it's changed. Why? In politics, you need to understand the political legacy. Before you end your career, you need to leave your legacy. So, as we respect Tun, but again, the way he put the legacy must be in the right way. Why? Because we don't want to create the second dilemma anymore. So the second dilemma, because Malay society sometimes confused. They want to be a Malay or Muslim. So they choose.
That's
so they want to be a Muslim, they choose PAS. They want to Malay, they choose UMNO. But benda tu sama je. Kan? Again, I always mention to my student, if you want to be Islamic or Muslim people, you have to learn. You have to learn. If you want to choose politics, you have to learn politics first. If you want to sell democracy, sell it betul, in the right way. Otherwise, the society will be the victim. This is what's happening when certain people sell wrong concept of democracy. Democracy should be celebrated. So that one is the key point here. If we want to move forward this country, we have to educate the political players here, in terms of PPBM, whoever, DAP, they need to educate the people back, or they need to change their political game, the style. If they stick with hatred politics, I think the society will never change. The way the political maturity among Malaysians never change. We keep accusing people. For example, we keep blaming other people. We do fake news, for example.
Yes.
Why? Because Malaysian dilemma.
Yeah, now it's a Malaysian dilemma.
I mean, okay, to somewhat summarize our whole topic today, I mean, we see that it's been after 60 years of independence, why are we still inclined to vote race? I mean, despite having a party representing all Malaysians, you've got Barisan Nasional with its MCA, MIC, and then you've got PKR that has, DAP, etc., etc. There's still that Malay sentiment. There's Chinese sentiment. Why are we still going based on race?
Okay. Now, the way I look at it, coming back to Tun's story, I want to contextualize it this way. When Tun came up with his Vision 2020,
yes.
One of the biggest, the thing he was talking about was how to create a united
Malaysia.
Malaysia. But now suddenly he came up, he went to a party that he moved from UMNO, which is a very, very Malay-based party, to a party that is supposedly more multi-ethnic. If you look at PKR and things like that. So there is a move on Tun's part. So at the end of the day, to me, GE14 is actually Tun's celebration of his legacy. His Vision 2020.
Okay.
And I mean, like you say, as a leader, whether you like it or not, I mean, Tun is really out there to prove that it can be done. But at the end of the day, this, if you look at UMNO is still very Malay, IMIC is still very Indian, and MCA is still very Chinese. But the move towards this Malaysian United is a kind of, for the first time, the AP doesn't even use its rocket.
Correct.
I mean,
yes.
if I'm a Chinese, I would be very angry. But it takes a lot, to tell a Chinese that we need a united Malaysian.
Yes.
So that is what basically, to me, that is a celebration of Vision 2020.
So, I mean, any last thoughts on this?
So it's about political will. It's about political will. If you want to have a very one-centered or one-centric party, it's about political will. Do we ready to
Are we
change?
ready, yeah.
Are we ready to form one solid party? But for me, the players, the political players, need to change their style.
They have to play a part. Yeah.
They have to play a part. They have to educate the people. They have to educate themselves, not selling hatred.
Yeah.
That is really important for me as a young voters.
Yes.
Not young lah.
I mean, that's definitely a nice note to end it. We have, at the end of the day, we should not be spreading the hatred among the Malaysians, right? So that's all the time we have for tonight. Sorry about that.
Thank you so much.
That's a wrap for tonight's episode of Viewpoint. Do tune in tomorrow, same time, same place, for more interesting topics of discussions in the run-up to the 14th general election. And for more updates on the elections, don't forget to visit myundi.com.my. I'm Azlina Najri. Thanks for tuning in and good night.